So I am officially 1 year on tea, so I'm going to talk about all the effects I've experienced personally. And one of the first effects I've personally seen in myself was the declit, which I honestly thought it would take much longer. Like, I didn't realize it was like an instant thing, like something that happened really fast, but apparently it's very normal. And I've seen so many people talk about how they were scared of it happening and how when it happened they felt uncomfortable. I was like, I really didn't feel like that at all. And personally, it really doesn't feel like anything physically. Like there's not much difference with how it was before. So it's not like a surprise. I mean, I barely noticed. I thought I was being crazy when I looked and I was like, did something change or am I just crazy? Like, I genuinely didn't know until, I realized at some point that there was a big difference, and I was like, yeah, actually, something happened. Obviously, the voice drop was the thing I was the most excited about because I hated my voice so much.
This is my voice like 20 minutes on tea.
At first, I really didn't hear any changes. Like, during the first 2 months, there really wasn't a big difference, but my voice started to crack like excessively in December, which was a little bit weird because my voice didn't start changing until like January. So it was very weird for me to have so much voice crack like excessively all the time when my voice wasn't changing at all. And I feel like that's an unusual experience. I don't know. But it was very weird because I thought I was just going to have the voice crack and not the voice drop, and I was like, no. Like that was very upsetting. But on the upside, the voice crack lasted very, very short for me, like only a month or two, and then my voice was stable even though it was still dropping. I didn't have much voice crack anymore. So that was nice. And body air wise, honestly, I was very surprised because I already had a little bit of a mustache before, so I was expecting to have like a full grown blowing mustache like a few months in, and I still don't, like it's barely anything. And I already had very hairy legs, so I wasn't expecting to have more body on my legs. And honestly, there's not much difference, but I have a lot of thigh hair now, which I didn't before. That's nice too. And yeah, I have a lot of stomach hair. Arm hair, I barely have anything. There's really not a difference at all before and after tea. Like, that was very surprising because I was expecting to have a lot of arm hair because I already had a little bit. And, you know, I feel like it got maybe a little bit darker, but that's really not a big difference. And that was surprising, honestly, that I'm disappointed, but it's fine. I saw a lot of people talk about hair in your ass crack, and I don't know, I don't know what to tell you. I already had a lot, so there's not much difference. But when it comes to like your pubes, it's like I already had a full bush before, so my pubes were like this around my genitals, but not like spread to my upper thighs. It's kind of weird because there's like hair on my thighs, and then there's nothing, and then there's hair again. It's very strange to look at. So for my facial hair, as you can see, I have a lot of sideburns. My sideburns were the first thing to come in, which I did not expect at all because I I really didn't have much body hair before on my sideburns, so I wasn't expecting them to get that much fuller, you know. And for my neck beard, that's also a disappointment because I really wasn't expecting to only get hair right there. Like, I was expecting to at least get a little bit here and there, but I didn't. And I know it's going to come at some point. Like, I see a tiny insy bit of hair right there, but it's not like, it's really not visible on camera. And up close it looks gross because it's just like, it's fucking ugly. I was expecting my eyebrows to get much fuller, much bigger, but I don't think there's any difference at all. But overall, I'm pretty happy. Um, I think I look much better. I don't know, and that's not the point. Even if I looked uglier, it doesn't matter. Like, that's not the point of it, of HRT. The point is not to get better looking. The point is to be more comfortable with the way you look. Like, I don't care if I'm ugly. I always have been. I always will be. That's fine. Weight redistribution, that's an interesting part because there's not much going on in the first year, and maybe not much going on period, because it's something, you know, that's very complicated. Like, you're not gonna have your entire body shape change completely. Like, you still have a body type even when you're on T. Like, if you are of a glass shape like me, you're not gonna get square shaped, you know. So that's honestly something I wasn't expecting to change, and it didn't. So yeah. But for my face was the thing I was the most surprised about. I didn't gain any weight at all, and that was strange to me because I genuinely thought I would get much bigger, but I didn't. However, I got more facial fat. Like, I used to not have a double chin. Like, I was like this, and now I have like a constantly visible double chin, which at first I thought was being crazy, but now I'm looking back at pictures of me before, and I'm like, wait a minute, why did I look skinny? That's not normal. But anyway, um, so my face shape changed a little, but it's mostly this part right there, and I don't know why, because it doesn't necessarily make me look more masculine. That's just weird. Acne, as you can see, it's very bad. I mean, it's much worse than before T, but I always had hormonal acne. And something about me, I don't know what it is, but I mostly only get acne on this side of my face, especially in this area of my face. Like, there's barely anything here. Even on my neck, there's nothing, practically nothing. Like, I get a few pimples here and there every once in a while, but I have at least 5 pimples on my face on this side at whole time. And it's upsetting because testosterone changed the way my pimples are. Like, I used to always have pimples with white heads, so I was able to pop them almost all the time. Like, there was a few pimples here and there where, you know, I couldn't pop them, and that was frustrating. But now I only ever get those kind of pimples, like the ones you can pop, and it's like, and it's stressful, and I can't do anything about it. And every time I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, can I? No, I can't. Fucking impossible. And also, I started getting a shitload of pimples on my neck, like here and then, all the way, even behind my hair, which is crazy. Cause like, why the fuck am I even getting pimples here? I even got a pimple right there. How is that even possible? Also on my forehead, I was expecting to get much more pimple, but I really only have pimples here. I don't know. And as usual, I get pimples on my eyebrows, which is painful. But and I get a lot of pimples on the corner of my mouth. It's like, why? Why this place specifically? Like it looks like I got a piece. I don't. I also get some pimples here and there, which I already did before, but it's much more now. So that's also weird. Anyways, oh, I didn't talk about my periods. I used to hate my periods because they were very, very painful. At least on the first day, they usually were. And I also had very bad, like, depressive episodes. Some of my most suicidal crises were due to my periods, and it stopped once I got on T. I got on T on November 15th, 2023, and that day I was on my period. So I was like on the last day of my period, so then like, the next day was over, which was normal. And then in December, I didn't get my period at all. So I was like, it's crazy that it works so fast. And then in January, I got my period like the first week of January. And I was like, huh. Okay, so maybe I'm just not regular anymore. But then I just never got them again. Like I haven't had my period since last January. That's great. And the crazy thing is that I'm on a regular dose, 1 milliliter of Androtardil every 4 weeks, which I don't know if that's normal. Like some people told me that was a lot for the beginning, but for me it worked. Like it worked just fine. And then my endocrinologist told me that it was strange. In fact, it was not strange, but like unusual for someone to not need their dosage readjusted. Like it was like when we had our appointment in like a follow-up appointment in like February or something, he told me that he was expecting him to, change the amount I was supposed to take, but that my testosterone levels were normal, like on the male ranked, and that everything else was also normal. So that was surprising. And honestly, it's great because I like it being every 4 weeks because I can pick up my tea, then take my tea, and that's it. Like every month I do that, and it's fine. And personally, I take tea shots, which at first I was scared of because I didn't know where the tea was going. Like I didn't know that it was going to be in the muscle. So I was expecting to be like in the blood, and I was like, is that going to be painful? Because when I got my wisdom teeth removed, I got an IV, and that shit was painful as hell. Like, ugh, awful. But testosterone is in the muscle, and honestly, some people say it's painful. I really didn't feel anything, like at all. Most of the time, I really don't feel much. Like I don't feel it during the injection, and sometimes there is a pain afterwards because there's like a ball that forms where I get the injection, which I guess it's an hematoma, I think. I don't know, but it's not like dangerous. It's just painful and annoying because it's on my ass. So when I sit or when I sleep, it's painful, and that's fucking. Especially because sometimes it takes a longer time for it to go away. My first T injection, I had, my injection, and then it was painful for a fucking week. And the second time, I didn't feel anything at all. And then there was a time where a different nurse did my injection, and I don't know what he did, but that was so painful. Like, I felt like he stabbed me. And the thing is, he was very nice. So I was like expecting him to know what the fuck he was doing, but apparently he didn't. And yeah, he did the injection, and as he was, injecting me, I was in pain. I was like, that's not normal. But I didn't say anything because literally right before he did the injection, he was like, yeah, usually it's painful. And I was like, I don't usually feel anything. And he was like, oh, good for you. And then it did to me, and I was like, ah, my god, what the fuck? So I didn't say anything because I didn't want to look like a liar. And then I was in pain for like 2 weeks, and I was like, oh my god, what the fuck? But yeah, it kind of just depends on the times. Like, there's not really a way to know that it's going to be, if it's going to be painful or not. That's very strange, but whatever, I guess. But yeah, I think it depends on my position, like how I'm laying down. Because I've noticed that when I do it at home, like when the nurse come over, it's usually more painful because I'm doing it on my couch, and I never know how to, how to position myself because it's weird and awkward. And I don't know, I'm just not comfortable doing it in my house. But when the nurse come over, it's because she can't take me afterwards at the place I usually get my tea shots. And yeah, I don't like doing it in my house, but at some point I'm going to have to learn to do it myself, I guess. I really don't want to. I feel like that's unusual because most people do get it themselves. Like they have someone to help, like a friend or a parent or whatever. I don't have anybody who cares, so I'm just like, if I was not doing it with a nurse, I would be doing it myself. And I don't trust myself with a needle. Like, I've never injected myself or anyone with anything, so I'm not expecting to know what to do. Like, I think if I do it myself, it's going to be dangerous. And I've watched tutorials, and I don't know. I just don't think I can do it. Like when I did my own papers, like to get my hair stretched, I was in a lot of pain, and I did it anyway because there was already a hole, and I just had to make the hole bigger. But when it comes to a needle, it's not like you were pushing through something. You're just stabbing yourself, and then you have to pull it out. So it's different, I feel like. And I don't know anybody who would want to help me or be available to do it, and I don't want to have to not get my injection on time because I don't want my periods to come back, and I don't want to have like mood swings or whatever. When it comes to chronic pain, my chronic pain used to be pretty bad, but it wasn't that bad. And people told me, like, I heard it could get worse on T, like your chronic pain could get more painful, and depending on what it was. And because of mine were like pain my joints, and mostly my hands and my knees and my hips. I was expecting to get much worse, and it didn't. It actually got better. Well, there's hope. My chronic fatigue got way less intense, and I was expecting it to get worse because everybody says that it does, but I didn't. And I feel like it's a thing that people say to try to discourage you from getting HRT because they're like, this could get worse, this is going to get worse. It's not necessarily true. One of the most common effects of testosterone is sweating much more and having hot flashes. But I already had that before because for some reason, I don't know, for some reason I did. And I thought it was going to get so much more extreme, and it didn't. And that was very surprising because I was really expecting it to get worse because it makes sense. Like, there's no reason why it wouldn't get worse. But there's really not much difference between before and now. Like, I was very scared of summer. Like, I was like, during summer I'm going to die. Like, I already had a very hard time before during summer, so I was expecting to be a waterfall of sweat, and I wasn't, and that was strange. I don't think my hairline is receding, and maybe a little, but I already had a very strange hairline. I'm going to put something to compare.
มันไปทำอะไรมึงวะไม่งี่เง่าชิบหายเลยทำไมพวกมึงแม่งไม่ไปร้านอื่นวะแม่งไม่ไปร้านอื่นวะไม่เมาพูดมาก
One thing that I was surprised about is that I was expecting to get an Adam's apple. Like, I was expecting to have one, at least a little bit, but there's barely anything, as you can see, and that was very frustrating. I don't know at which point did I start to pass, because I work with kids, so for them, if you have short hair, you're a man, regardless. I mean, some of them will argue and be like, yeah, but you look like a boy, but you sound like a girl, and this and that. And now that I have facial hair, there's really no doubt anymore. The kids will point out and be like, why do you have a beard if you're a girl? And yeah, I'm not out at my job because I got hired in January when I didn't have a voice job, I didn't have any facial hair. So I just decided to, apply to my job. I applied in December, and I applied under my legal name because I didn't know it was legal to apply under your chosen name if it's not legally your name. But apparently you can. But yeah, I didn't pass back then when I got my job interview, so I decided to, keep my legal name. But now it's more of a problem because even my coworkers are confused now because back at the beginning of the year, people, just thought I was a masculine looking girl, but now they see this and that and my voice and they're like, what the fuck is this? Like, I have coworkers who call me he, like, even though technically, like, I use my dead name, they accidentally say he for me, which is funny because usually it's the opposite, right? Like, most of my coworkers, especially the ones who don't know me because I work all over the schools of my city. So there's 22 schools, and I've been to, like, since January, I've been to like 15 different schools. So depending on the school, kids will have a different opinion on my appearance, and same for the coworkers. Like, some of them will genuinely be confused. Like, I literally had a coworker asked me if I was trans once. And I mean, she was young. I think she was genuinely asking. But I didn't want to make a big deal out of it, so I said no, which I kind of regret. Because I work at 22 different schools, I can't just come out at every school to every coworkers. Like, it's complicated, and I already have like 1,000 child who knows me as my dead name, so I can't just change my name and then, you know, change name depending on the school. It's way too complicated. So I decided to just keep it up like this. Kind of all I had to say. HRT is great.